Hi everyone. So first of all, I just want to share a quick update with you. NMAT or rather NMIMS, they released this document. So in all candidate logins, it was visible for some time, but now they have revoked it. So we'll have to wait for some time, some more time, and see if finally this is how the call letter looks. So we'll have to wait for some time for sure. But just want to take you through what the document looked like, because for a lot of you who may be logging in at this point of time, you will not be able to download this document. So we contacted NMIMS and they said that at 2 o'clock they started releasing these documents. But right now at the time of recording this video, it's just about 3:30. It appears that they have revoked these documents. So for a few students, we were able to download this. So these students of course sent it to us, and that is how, based on that, I'm recording this particular session. So the way the document looks is very different compared to what we have seen in the past. So if you look at last year's call letters and this year's call letter, this year's call letter looks very, very different. So till last year, they used to give you for individual institutes and the programs what were the sectional cutoffs and the overall cutoffs. But this year, this is how the first page of the document looks like. So if you log into the candidate dashboard, right now, again, I'm repeating, a lot of you will not be able to see this document because they have revoked it. For some people who were able to download it, let's say after at around 2:15, 2:30, 3 p.m., etc., they have this document, they have the PDF now. So let's first look at what the PDF contains and what are going to be the next steps. And of course, we'll wait for the final call letters as well, which should be out in a couple of hours maybe, because if it was out at 2 o'clock and they have revoked it, maybe there's some additional work that they are doing. But otherwise, I think it should be out fairly quickly anyway. So what it contains is, first of all, it shows you your NMAT ID and your name. Then it shows you the max score and the scores that you have obtained. Now this will be your NMAT score, so nothing, no surprises there. But here, this is the part where it is very, very different from last year's call letters. So last year it used to be like a very big table containing individual program names, then section wise what were the cutoffs and the overall cutoff. So this time they have just given this MBA programs at all campuses. Of course, now we'll have to, because they have revoked it, we'll have to wait and see whether they make any changes to this format or not. Because this format, if they are going to continue with this format, this is very different compared to what they have done previously. So it says MBA programs at all campuses, and the figures are 62 in each of the sections and 209 overall. Now, what this essentially means is that if you look at all campuses of NMIMS put together, except the pharmaceutical management program, the minimum that you need in each of the sections is 62 and the overall that you need is 209. So if you have these scores, then you are eligible to participate in the subsequent round. Earlier, what used to happen is they used to give you program wise figures, and they used to show that okay, you have been shortlisted for say NMIMS Core Mumbai, NMIMS Mumbai HR, NMIMS let's say Bangalore. That used to be the data in the previous years. But now they are just showing that MBA programs at all campuses, which means all NMIMS campuses put together, these are the minimum figures. So the problem with this is, let's say you are somebody at 230, right? In the previous year, you would have not got a call from the Core Mumbai program. But now they are saying that we are not releasing this, whether you have that particular institute shortlist or not. We are saying that if you have these scores, you are eligible to participate in the subsequent rounds. And then finally, the weightages have been given as to how what the weightages for each of the parameters are. And basis that, a final merit list will be prepared, which is again very, very different. Now, it definitely helps a few students because even if you have a low NMAT score, you have an opportunity to do really well in the subsequent process and even convert, let's say, a better institute. If at all they change this, we don't know at this point of time, because as I said, this has been revoked. So this document you will not be able to download. Those of you who are watching this and trying to log into your dashboard simultaneously and download, you will not be able to see this, right? So whether it will be exactly same or not, let's see, let's wait and watch how finally it comes out. Then it again shows you NMAT ID and your name, and it shows the venue, right? This is where the location, the campus entry, all of those details have been given. If you go further in the document, what it shows you is that the second stage includes competency assessment and personal interview. Now, what exactly is competency assessment? Again, we tried reaching to NMIMS and we spoke with them. They said that at this point of time, they are not going to give the entire details, And this is something that will be sent to the students in terms of what specifics are going to be by 25th Jan. So they have also given in the same document that by 25th Jan, you will have more clarity as to what the competency test is going to be. So previous years it used to be the Watson-Glasser test, and then alongside that you have the PI. So that test is nothing but a bit of critical reasoning. So if you are good at critical reasoning, you can do very well on that particular test. Of course, this year what exactly it is going to be, right now we don't know. Once we have more information, we'll be able to share that with you. And anyway, they will send a detailed communication to all the students regarding this. Important thing to note is going to be the registration date, which is very close. So 21st Jan. Now, again, we don't know whether they're going to make any changes or not, but otherwise, let's continue with what we have on this document at this point of time. So 21st Jan, before this, you have to fill the registration form. Now, what the registration form contains is, firstly, to be eligible to appear for this particular competency assessment and personal interview, you have to pay an additional fee of 1100. So you previously applied to NMIMS, that is done. Now to participate in the subsequent, which is the second round, you have to pay 1100. Okay. Book a slot for competency assessment and PI through the dashboard. So from your candidate dashboard, you are supposed to do the process. Right now, again, I am repeating, some of you will not be able to see this document because these documents have been revoked. So you will not see a call letter. This is based on the call letter that we were able to download for one of our students. And again, many others in the chat also, I saw initially there were people who mentioned that they were able to download it, right? I have received, I think, 3 or 4 such call letters. Then it says scheduling will be strictly on first come first serve basis, no surprises there. Now slot details. So if you look at when the process is going to happen, this is going to start from 30th Jan. So for the core MBA program or the other campuses, whether it is Indore or Hyderabad, etc., 30th Jan onwards the process will begin, meaning your subsequent rounds, which is the competency test and interview. It is going to be conducted in 2 slots. There is a morning session and afternoon session. For each of them, there are 2 batches that are available. Now, one thing to note here is that the preference for programs and campuses that you give in the competency assessment and PI form. So when you go for this and when you fill the form for the competency assessment, you have to indicate the preference, for which you have to know what were the cutoffs last year. So last year's cutoff, if you go through, basically that is the order that you maintain in terms of preference. This is not going to be very different from the order that you had put, let's say, when you applied to NMIMS. But now, because you have the additional information, which is your NMAT score, you can decide whether should I put a certain institute or not. For example, if you have, let's say, a very low NMAT score, right, which is very close to the cutoff that is mentioned, then in that case, should NMIMS Mumbai be put as a first preference or not? That's a question that you need to evaluate. I'm not saying you should not be putting it, because I'll make that point as to why I make that statement. So for now, you have an option to put the preferences. You can decide what 5 preferences you are supposed to put, and you need to take that call basis your preference that you have for whatever you want to do in terms of your MBA. Then they are saying a candidate has to meet all cutoff criteria, sectional and total, again, which is not different from what it was last year, to qualify for the second stage. Meaning the previous figures that we saw, which is 62 in each of the sections and 209 overall, if you don't have that, then you are not eligible. Then you're not eligible for the subsequent rounds, which means anybody who has got less than these figures and the 209 overall, there's no way you can participate in the competency test and interview. Now let's understand the next thing. So they have mentioned that you have to be present and all of that. Obviously, if you are not present, then they will not be able to evaluate you. The final admission weightages have been given. Again, this is something that they never used to release as part of the document. So earlier call letters from last year never used to announce something like this. And one thing that you observe is the NMAT weightage. Now this is just about 20%. So technically your NMAT score is not going to make a lot of difference. So whether you are sitting at, let's say, a 250 or a 260 or a 240, it shouldn't make a lot of difference, because the weightage of the test is very low in the final selection process, which is just about 20%. The competency assessment has the highest weightage, which is 50%. So whatever they are going to do in competency test, which at this point of time we don't know, unfortunately, right? So I wish they had announced it in this document itself, but as they mentioned, by 25th Jan we are going to get those details, so we'll have to wait and watch. But this is going to have a higher weight, which means that even if you are, let's say, at 230, till last year you had no shot at the MBA core program. But now if you're sitting at 230, you have a shot at it simply because the competency assessment has a higher weight. The personal interview has 10% weight. So competency assessment becomes extremely important. It is like 5 times more important compared to the personal interview, right? Work experience has 10% weight, and they have given that work experience only more than 1 year will be considered for weightage. So anybody who is less than 1 year, you're not getting anything on that front. So the work experience 10%, zero for people who are under 1 year of experience. Academic track record, 12th standard has 5%, 10th standard score does not matter. Graduation or pre-final year CGPA converted is 5%. Okay, so 5%, 5% for 12th and graduation. No points whatsoever for your 10th standard. Okay. Finally, okay, summation is 100%. The only concern, of course, is the competency assessment. So we have to really know what exactly this is going to be, because, as I said, right, 5 times as important as personal interview. Okay, now they have mentioned that okay, this is fine. The next point does not matter too much. It's going to be taken. It's going to happen on campus. That is what they have written. Admission will be based on performance in the round 2, above mentioned weightage and preference given in the competency form. All of this is fine. This again, you can go through the document once they again release it. As I said, they released it and they revoked the documents. You will receive detailed information about the entire procedure for stage 2 by 25th Jan. So they have themselves mentioned that right now this is not the whole thing. They are going to share more details. You'll get more communication from them. By 25th Jan, we'll have more clarity on what the competency test is going to be. But you will have to book slots prior to that. As we saw, the last date to book your slot is going to be 21st Jan. So you have to take a call at this point of time that whether you want to continue in this journey or not. You have to pay 1100, and of course you should, considering now the weightages, that you still have an opportunity to cover up for, let's say, a lower NMAT score. I can see that some of you have mentioned that what's the point of NMAT, etc. So anyway, I mean, that's what it is, the way things are. And they have mentioned how much time it is going to take. So anyway, it doesn't matter how much time, you have to be mentally prepared for whatever time that it takes. They have mentioned about 5 hours is what it will need, and you have to make travel arrangements accordingly and so on and so forth, right? Then the eligibility for the programs, again, it's something that you have to consider the brochure for this. So if you are not eligible for a certain program, then you cannot apply for them, right? So there are some programs where there is the requirement of mathematics at the 12th standard. So please have a look at whether you are eligible for programs or not before you fill that as a preference. Then they mentioned you have to carry all the documents and so on and so forth. Work experience after graduation will become considered. Work experience from 1 to 3 years will be considered for weightage. Which means what? Which means that people with 3+ years of experience, I don't know how exactly that is going to be treated, right? Maybe they are going to give either lower marks or no marks, because right now here it says only 1 to 3 years, right? So again, not a great news for people who are sitting with 3+ years of experience. Family business or self-employment will not be considered. Again, another thing that you have to keep in mind, that if you're planning to submit family business experience or self-employment, that will not be counted as work ex. So your answers that you prepare for will have to be tuned in that particular manner as well. Work experience wherein the salary was paid in cash will not be considered. Okay, again, so the payment has to be in your bank account, etc. If it was cash transfers, as in it was cash that got exchanged, that's not something that they will consider. Training, internships, apprenticeship, that will not be considered, and a third party will verify the candidate's work experience documents. So these are all the specifics that they have given about work experience. Again, relevant more for people with work ex. For others, they can simply ignore this part, right? A lot of you have asked, where can I see my call letter? As I mentioned, they released the call letters for some time. It was visible in the candidate dashboard. Some students were able to download it, and then they have now revoked the document. Okay. For those of you who joined in just now, 62 in each of the sections and 209 overall, that's the cutoff figure for all NMIMS campuses put together. This is not NMIMS Mumbai or NMIMS Indore or Bangalore, etc. This is NMIMS all campuses, all programs put together, except the pharmaceutical management program, for which the cutoff is 15 each of the sections and 190 overall. Okay. So action points, one is we'll wait for some more time. We'll see if they re-release the call letters. If it is any different from this, again we'll come up with a video and cover that as to what is different in the call letter. If it stays the same, there is no reason to do that. This call letter shows you that if you have met the minimum sectionals and overall, then you are eligible for stage 2. In stage 2, it is going to be competency test and interview. For that, you have to pay 1100 rupees through the candidate dashboard. You have to complete this before 21st Jan to be considered. In this, you will also be able to put preferences, 5 preferences that you will have to put. Only the preferences where you are eligible for the programs, not basis the score. I'm talking purely on the eligibility, whether you have, let's say, 12th in maths in 12th and things like that. Program wise, you have to check. That is available in the brochure as well. Once you book your slot, by 25th Jan, you're going to get another communication from their end as to what exactly competency test is going to be, how much time it will take, and things like that. They have mentioned 5 hours roughly, and these are the slots and the batch timings that are given. Then from 30th January, the actual process will begin, meaning you will be able to go to the college and actually appear for the process. So that is what the whole update is about. Weightage wise, NMAT does not have a lot of weight now, so 20%, that's pretty low if you ask me. Competency assessment has 50% weight, making it the most significant thing out there. Personal interview has just about 10%. Again, not a very big differentiator. So can somebody with an average PA also convert a good college this time? The answer is yes. The work experience has 10% weight with a lot of conditions that they have mentioned, that they will not be considering part-time job, or family business will not be considered. Anything where cash payment was there will not be considered. 1 to 3 years is what they will consider, and so on. And then academic record is only your 12th and your graduation score with 5% weight, right? So that's it. That's the overall update regarding NMIMS. I hope this has helped you. We'll wait and see if they make any changes to the call letter, and we'll send another communication to all of you. I'll just be taking a couple of questions before we end this. I have cleared 2 sections and I have 61 in 1 section. Then no, you will not be eligible, because it clearly says that you have to have all the sectionals as well as the overall cutoff, right? So if you don't have any of these figures, if you're less than this, you're not meeting the sectional or the overall requirement, you will not be able to move to the next stage. Okay. If you're, I saw Harshit's message, all sections clear, 209 overall, still no call. If you're not able to see the call letter, it doesn't mean that you don't have a call. Right now, they have revoked it for everybody. So it was there for about 1.5 hours. People were able to download. After that, they have removed all the call letters. Okay. QS 62, LS 92, LR 82, 235, any calls possible? Okay, CAT Master 25, see, the thing is, as they have mentioned in this call letter at least, for all campuses, these are the figures, which means that the data that you have mentioned, you are meeting the cutoff, which means that you are eligible for stage 2, and you appear for stage 2, and after that, they will announce the result. So they are not announcing whether you are eligible for, let's say, Mumbai core at this point of time, or you have been shortlisted for HR, or for Bangalore, or for Hyderabad at this point of time. That is not how they are communicating this time, unless they release another set of call letters and make any changes to that. But for now, we'll have to sort of live with this. Cutoffs based on what you showed. Okay, so see, previously, if you look at the cutoffs, right, 234 was the cutoff last year for the Mumbai and the HR program in Mumbai. So that's like the maximum cutoff which was out there. So if anybody is above those scores, obviously you have a very good chance. But now when you look at the weightages, look at the weightage of NMAT. It is just 20%. So even somebody at a 225 or a 220 or a 230, will he or she with a solid PI, with a solid competency assessment score, be able to get into the core program or the HR program? The answer would be yes. So that is why you have to prepare really well now, from now on, for the competency test. 207, do I have a chance? No. So as you saw, right, the figures are there. If you have a score which is less than that, then it is not going to, you don't have a call, then you're not eligible for stage 2. That's what they're saying. So this is like the minimum that you need in each of the sections and the overall to be considered for stage 2. Which site to check? You have to log into your candidate dashboard, but as I said, right now they have revoked these documents. Okay, as a lot of you, Aniket Sharma has mentioned call letter revoked now at this point of time, correct? So this is calls are revoked, no longer they are there, is what Aniket is saying. Precisely, that's what I've been saying as well, that right now you'll not be able to see these documents, but we are able to download it for quite a few students. Okay, so let's see if they make any changes. For now, as I've already covered the actionables, start thinking about when you want to appear for the actual test, competency test and interview, get those things in place. By 21st Jan, you have to fill this form. Once the new call letters are issued, let's see if they make any changes to that, but keep 21st Jan as the deadline by which you have to pay 1100 to participate in the subsequent rounds. Okay. So everyone who has cleared the cutoff will be selected for PI. Hanishi, yes, that's what it means, right? So if you have cleared these figures, 62, 62, 62, 209, whatever preferences you had put in the actual NMIMS form, doesn't matter. You have been shortlisted for MBA programs at all campuses. What it means is you are eligible for stage 2, you appear for stage 2, at the end of stage 2 they will arrive at a composite score, and basis that they will let you know whether then you have converted, say, a Mumbai core or an HR or say a Bangalore or Hyderabad and so on and so forth. Okay. Will PI and competitive assessment take place on the same day? Yes, it will happen on the same day. As they mentioned, it is going to take roughly about 5 hours. Harshit, what would be there in the competency assessment? Right now they have not mentioned it. Till last year it used to be the Watson Glaser test, which used to be like a critical reasoning kind of a test. But we'll wait for more details, and as soon as we get to know anything, of course, we'll pass it on to you. Okay. What is the cutoff date for work experience? They have not mentioned anything on that at this point of time. What they have just mentioned is more than 1 year is what they are going to consider. So 1 year to 3 year, but it will mostly be at the time of going for the interview. But again, you can always cross check it with NMIMS. Will KJ Somaya cutoff drop? See, KJ Somaya is independent of NMIMS. So what KJ Somaya cutoff will be, that is up to them. And please don't think that NMIMS Mumbai cutoff has dropped to 209. So a lot of people will start thinking it that way, that that cutoff used to be 234 and now it has become 209. That is not how it is. What has just happened is they have changed the way they announce the cutoffs. So earlier they used to announce program wise cutoffs. Now they have just given the minimum figure that you need to be eligible for the subsequent round. So that is the aspect that has changed. Rest of the things are more or less the same, and of course the weightages have also changed quite a bit. Okay. All right. I think that's about it. We have more or less covered everything. Once again, call letters may not be visible to you in your dashboard at this point of time. Please wait for some time. Soon they should be out. It was visible for a brief period. We downloaded it, and that is how we are able to cover this particular aspect. But we'll wait. Once we have the final call letters, we'll send another communication. If at all there are any changes. If there are no changes, then this is what it is. Okay. So make sure that you apply if you are eligible for the subsequent stage as early as possible. Book your slot, pay that 1100 rupees so that you have a shot for the next stage. Okay, that's about it. Wish all of you all the best. Hope this news has, I think a lot of people who were on the who had slightly lower scores were not happy that they missed the NMIMS Mumbai, etc. This at least gives hope to a lot of people, right? So I hope it has helped you, and if there's anything, please let me know in the comment section. So all the best to all of you. Bye. Take care.